Good morning and welcome. You are watching the Morning Express on Republic TV. I'm Nupur Talwar Suri. Now, the NIA is conducting raids and searches in multiple locations in the largest ever investigation process till date. These searches are being conducted in the residential and official premises of persons involved in funding terrorism, organizing training camps and radicalizing people to join the proscribed organizations. So the NIA, of course, is conducting these searches in multiple locations. It's believed to be the largest ever investigation process till date. Places that are being raided, of course, are across states. So we are learning of raids being conducted in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala as well. And these raids essentially are being looked upon as anti-terror action that's being taken by the agency. We are given to understand that the ED is also conducting raids to be able to ascertain the money trail, also ascertain the source of funding to the PFI. Do remember that the PFI has been in the dock over several terror-related activities, and there have been several probes that are being conducted. In fact, these are multi-level state probes which are being conducted against the PFI. Now, the searches that the NIA is conducting essentially is over allegations that the PFI is funding terrorism, it's organizing training camps, and we here at Republic, of course, have brought to you detailed reports of where these training camps are being organized. There was one that was organized in Kerala a while ago. The NIA also look into the aspect of whether the PFI is radicalizing people to join proscribed organizations. So these raids being conducted against the PFI at several locations. We are given to understand that 3 states at least is where the PFI is being investigated by the NIA and the ED as well. These, of course, are Tamil Nadu and Kerala. So this is, of course, being looked upon as a special operation that is being conducted by the NIA. Now, there has, of course, been a lot of coordination that's involved in these raids. To remember that these are multi-city raids. They're being looked upon as a major crackdown on the PFI. Now, raids are being conducted at across about 100 locations. That's what we are learning right now. Raids are being conducted not just in 3 states. I think we are now getting information that perhaps these are raids that are being conducted in other states as well. So we are going to try and go across to our correspondents in just a bit to give us more details on what's happening. But raids being conducted across several states. And what we are given to understand is that while the NIA looks at perhaps how the allegations that are being made against the PFI in terms of organizing training camps and radicalizing people are stacking up. The other part of it is the funding of terrorism. Now, that is where the ED essentially comes in. The ED, of course, is looking into where these funds are coming in from. Do remember that there was at one point in time certain allegations that were made against the PFI which seem to suggest that there were funds that were coming in from the overseas, and that, of course, has been in the scanner as well. Now, we're given to understand that at least 100 PFI workers have been arrested so far now. So searches, we are told, are underway in about 10 states. And the ED, the NIA and the state police are jointly conducting these searches in certain states. The NIA is conducting these raids all over the country. Several top leaders have been arrested. So 100 people already detained. I think we've got Shravan Sen on the phone line. He has more details on what's happening. Shravan, this is perhaps looking like one of the biggest operations that the NIA is conducting. And this, we are given to understand, is being conducted in several states. All right. I don't think we've got Shravan yet. We're going to get him back in just a bit. But more details that we are getting right now seem to suggest that about 300 plus NIA officers are involved in this raid. Over 80 locations are being raided. And these 80 locations, we are learning, are in about 10 states. So specific details that we are getting seem to suggest that funding terrorism, organizing training camps and radicalizing people, these are the charges against the PFI. Let's go back across to Shravan. Shravan, good morning. Give us more details of what we are learning. These do appear to be the biggest raids that the NIA may have undertaken.
Well, in fact, these are the details that we are picking up right now. That these are joint searches that are being carried out. The Enforcement Directorate, the National Investigation Agency, and state police are basically conducting searches in 10 states, is what we have been told. Almost 100 arrests have already been made by the joint force, is what we are picking up. Top PFI leaders have already been arrested. That's the details that are coming in. A short while back, what we picked up was the NIA was basically targeting at persons who have been involved in funding terrorism, organizing training camps, and radicalizing people to join proscribed organizations. So there is a possibility that these searches would basically be spreading beyond the Popular Front of India. There are other organizations which are basically under the scanner. At this point in time, of course, they are certainly tight-lipped because over 300 NIA officials are basically a part of these raids that are being carried out. Tentatively, about 80 locations where these searches are being carried out, 10 states is what we have been told. These numbers could certainly change given the fact that the arrests that have already been made by the joint force, the NIA, as well as the Enforcement Directorate. All that we are picking up right now, that it does appear that this is largely with the aim of targeting certain organizations which have been indulging in anti-national activities. But it's important to point out that this perhaps is turning out to be one of the biggest crackdown that we are looking at on terror groups as well as proscribed organizations in our country. And remember, as far as the Popular Front of India is concerned, they have also been under the scanner for what the NIA has been calling in multiple charge sheets that have been filed, that the organization has basically indulged in anti-national activities. Remember, the Popular Front of India has also been under the scanner, not just of the National Investigation Agency, but also of the Enforcement Directorate. But it also turns out that these searches could be way beyond the Popular Front of India. If you look at the sheer number of the searches that are being carried out right now, the locations, as well as how it's spreading beyond a single state, it is a clear indication of the fact that the intention right now is of a bigger crackdown across the country on terror groups, as well as groups that have been have been linked with anti-national activities.
Right now, Shravan, we are given to understand that perhaps already over 100 detentions have been made in these raids so far. Now, the ED also, can you give us more information in terms of whether the ED is actually probing the funding angle? Because that's something that's been talked about, Shravan, and the fact that that the PFI essentially does receive a large number of its funds from overseas. That's the allegation.
Well, as far as the funding is concerned, remember that is something that the Enforcement Directorate is already looking at. If you look at the investigation that was carried out by the Enforcement Directorate in the Delhi riots, as well as the riots that took place in the state of Uttar Pradesh post the anti-CAA protests, it was a clear reflection of the fact that there were certain dubious transactions that have basically taken place. And particularly transactions that have originated from the Middle East was under the scanner of the Enforcement Directorate. In fact, several of these PFI leaders have already been called in for questioning by the Enforcement Directorate in the past. They were essentially asked to explain, one, the source of funding, second, how exactly was it being utilized? Because it turns out is that if you look at the timing of the funding, and the protests that have been organized by the Popular Front of India, there seems to be a correlation. And that is the reason why the Enforcement Directorate in the past has already acted upon it. But today's searches appear to be with a larger mandate, because it turns out that not just the National Investigation Agency, but the Enforcement Directorate and certain state police are also part of all these searches that are being carried out. That is the reason why it is essentially being touted as one of the largest ever searches that have been carried out in the country. And secondly, this is the biggest crackdown on what they are calling is the biggest crackdown on organizations that have been indulging in anti-national activities and who have also been linked to certain terror groups. Perhaps clarity would only come in a little later in the day because the searches started just a short while back. And right now, all that we can confirm is that the searches are being carried out at least 10 locations. At least 100 arrests have already been made. Of the 100 arrests that have been made, there are top PFI leaders who have already been arrested. We do not know at this point in time if the arrests have been made by the National Investigation Agency or the Enforcement Directorate. We'll have to wait for a confirmation to come in. But all we can say, there have been reports that have already come in right now suggesting that 100 arrests have already been made, and the fact that these searches are being carried out at 10 states, roughly about 80 locations. 300 plus officials are part of this entire search operation that is being carried out. As of now, even our colleagues have been reporting that digital devices have been seized by the National Investigation Agency as the searches basically continue.
Right, absolutely. As you're pointing out, Shravan, we are still awaiting further details to come in terms of what are the cases under which these arrests, detentions rather, have been made. They appear to be detentions at the moment. Also, Shravan, would you say that this is perhaps the largest operation that has been conducted against the PFI till date, or the first major crackdown rather? Because we've been hearing about the PFI's role, in several cases across the country, but this perhaps is the largest operation that we are seeing in terms of various agencies essentially coordinating their efforts. Would you say that? All right, we seem to have lost that audio connection with Shravan Sen. We're going to try and get him back in just a bit. But here's what we know so far. About 100 people have been detained, including, we are given to understand, some top leaders of the PFI. We are also given to understand that these raids are being carried out in 100 locations across 13 states. And to give us a breakdown on what's happening in each of these states, we are now joined by Varshini. She's live from Chennai. Prajwal, who's joined from Bengaluru, Ashwin, who's live from Thiruvananthapuram, and Harsha, who is live from New Delhi. To begin with you first, Prajwal, you are reporting from Bengaluru. Now, give us a sense of what's happening in the state where you are. What are you hearing from the authorities in terms of the number of detentions that have been made and the places and the locations which have been raided? All right, we seem to be running into an audio trouble over there. I'm going to go across to Harsha on that one now. Harsha, we are given to understand that this is a very well-coordinated operation that's taking place, and the ED as well as the NIA are involved in it, and there are, of course, certain local police forces that are also looking at it. But give us an overall sense of what's happening.
We can see it as largest anti-terror probe which is being done by National Investigation Agency and Enforcement Directorate, which is being conducted right now in 10 states and at the residences, offices of PFI leaders. Almost 10 of the PFI leaders are already in the custody of NIA, and also we have seen that from past few months, if we see a span of year or two, we see that NIA has conducted several raids in a small way at the residences of PFI leaders and officers, but it is the largest anti-terror probe which is being conducted. There are several PFI leaders who are involved in the terror funding, radicalizing people to join prescribed organization, the cyber crime, the kind of brainwash they do of the youngsters and youth. And several times we have seen the incidents coming in from Kerala and from different parts of South as well, where PFI leaders are very much active. And now the national, state and local offices of PFI leaders is being raided by National Investigation Agency at at several places in this, not only the states which come in the south section, but also UP, Delhi, NCR, different places are also being raided of the close aides of PFI, the PFI leaders, how they are operating, because literally NIA has been in the look of the people who are in PFI. They're associated with different radicalization operation, brainwashing youth and involving them in certain activities, terror funding, not only terror funding. The money through different ways is also being entered in the country by PFI leaders, taking help from the people who are abroad linked with the terror organization. These things are largely seen with the PFI leaders. Their action was closely monitored by National Investigation Agency since year or so. And from past few months, we have also seen that at many places, PFI leaders were previously also raided and they were questioned and taken into custody. Now, this is the largest anti-terror attack, anti-terror probe which we are seeing by NIA and Enforcement Directorate in 10 states of PFI leaders. Back to you.
All right. So Harsha.